Hello, welcome to GeoBytes, your daily roundup of news from geospatial industry. I'm your host Bhanu. For the next 15 minutes, I will bring you the news of the top developments across projects, products, policies and businesses. As UNESCO puts Australia under probation over the health of the Great Barrier Reef, let us tell you how the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration NOAA is using geospatial technology to save the reefs. Scientists in the United States are monitoring the health of the coral reefs even in the most remote regions of the world with the help of Earth-observing satellite data. NOAA operates an online tool called Coral Reef Watch, which provides near real-time and long-term monitoring of tropical reef conditions. It utilizes the data generated from Landsat 8 satellite, which is fitted with an operational land imager sensor. In addition to Landsat, several other satellite sensors provide data such as the moderate resolution imaging spectroradiometer instruments aboard the NASA Terra and Aqua satellites. Readings are also being collected by NOAA's Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer Suite instrument on Suomi National Polar Orbiting Partnership satellite. These instruments measure the cumulative heat buildup around coral reefs. If the heat buildup over several weeks, a condition known as bleaching occurs. The tiny algae living inside the coral animal evict and the coral eventually die. Now these instruments may be seeming sophisticated, but scientists are looking for even more advanced solutions. Nima Palevan, chief research scientist at Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland, explains that the best achievable spatial resolution is 250 to 500 meters today, but researchers require instruments capable of resolving reefs at scales ranging from 1 to 40 meters. In another development, NASA scientist Zeoli's son has collaborated with Dallas-based DRS Technologies to create the world's first photon counting detector sensitive to the mid-infrared wavelength band. This spectral sweet spot is important for a number of remote sensing applications, including the detection of greenhouse gases on the Earth. Sun confirms that NASA has been looking for this type of detector for years. He tells that the new detector is made of a special alloy and is well suited for a LIDAR. What's unique about this detector, which is about the size of a sesame seed, is its ability to process the returning infrared signal at a single photon level. The US Department of Health and Human Services has launched a GIS-based tool to help community health agencies and emergency management officials in disaster preparedness. The interactive HHS Empower map shows the monthly total of Medicare fee-for-service beneficiaries' claims for electricity-dependent equipment. The data is available for national, state, territory, county and zip code levels. The tool incorporates these data with real-time severe weather tracking services from NOAA in a GIS. This information can help hospitals, first responders and electric utility officials to work with health workers. Together, they would be able to prevent the adverse impacts of prolonged power outages caused by storms and other disasters on vulnerable citizens. Moving forward, the Federal Railroad Administration has asked digital mapping companies to update their maps with information about the crossing locations. The agency wants audio and visual cues which would alert drivers to potential dangers. The development comes as 2014 witnessed 270 deaths from train-on-vehicle collisions. This year also began with major accidents at crossings near New York City, Los Angeles, and in North Carolina. So far, Google has agreed to stitch 250,000 public and private crossings into its maps. The administration has also asked Apple, TomTom, MapQuest, and Garmin to comply. From the world of commerce, we are learning that agribusiness companies Land O'Lakes of Minnesota and United Suppliers of Iowa have announced plans to merge their crop inputs businesses. The merger would allow the companies to provide expanded product offerings to the customers, including enhanced precision agriculture services, tools, and technologies. The first step of this alliance will be to combine the two companies' seed and crop protection businesses. The second step will bring in the crop nutrient businesses. Financial terms of the agreement were not disclosed. Reports are coming in from Canada that the Alberta Emergency Management Agency has revealed that it will be using Buffalo Computer Graphics Disaster LAN or DLAN as their Emergency Operations Center coordination application. Alberta wanted a system that would provide Provincial Operations Center staff with a secure environment from which all disaster and emergency coordination activities could be performed, regardless of their geographic location. DLAN supports all emergency management functions such as resource, task, logistics management, and incident communications on a secure platform which looks all information for reporting and review. It also allows stakeholders to view up-to-date geospatial information from any location. We will now slip into a short break, but when we return, we will take a look at what's brewing in Europe. Welcome back. Nokia's Here Maps has been selected by Finland to spearhead a pilot project that will enable vehicles to communicate safety hazards to others on the road. For now, the pilot will involve volunteers sharing information from their vehicles via a smartphone, but ultimately the data generated by vehicles' on-board sensors and the surrounding road infrastructure would be communicated directly to other vehicles through an automated cloud communication network. Here would act as a conductor, orchestrating and analyzing the volume of sensor data in its location cloud and sending messages to the right place within seconds or eventually milliseconds. The pilot would kick off in the last half of 2016. Up to 1,000 drivers are expected to take part in the initial test run. The European Space Agency ESA has appointed Johan Dietrich Wormer as its new Director General. He began duty at the ESA headquarters in Paris on Wednesday. Werner succeeds Jean-Jacques Dordain, the agency's longest-serving Director General. Dodane led ESA for 12 years. Let us take you to the new DG's media briefing at the recent Paris Air Show now.
Jean-Jacques Dordain, because I'm in the favorite situation that I can harvest the seeds of his work. So this is, first of all, a very nice situation. And Jean-Jacques, you did a great job as Director General of ESA. You are still doing it for another 3 weeks, 2.5 to be exact. And I'm really happy that also we both can today announce the success of Rosetta in Philae. And just to give a little bit more information about that, so we will have now 3 hours per day sunshine on the Philae lander. We will change the orbit of the orbiter of Rosetta in order to get a better connection. And we will start then with all the scientific work with the so-called non-mechanical instruments, meaning not the drilling and all of this stuff, but we will do first of all the non-mechanical experiments. So now, after harvesting the seeds, the next topic I have to fulfill, the task, is continuation. Again, it's very simple that my friend Jean-Jacques mentioned it. It's Ariane 6, it's ISS, it's ExoMars, Galileo, Copernicus is preparing the future. And in order to give you some information about that, I would like to mention a very special scheme. I don't know whether you ever heard about the so-called Industry 4.0. That's a word which is used in Germany. In other countries it's called smart factory or Internet of Things and so on. And if there is a 4.0, there should be 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. And I thought about, what about space?
Referring to the future as Space 4.0, Wormer also insisted that ESA has already entered a new phase in which space has become a day-to-day business. He said that the agency's interaction with society, commercialization of space, and a fostered relationship with the European Commission are on his agenda. The European Space Chief has also hinted that he will try to include India and China among the nations supporting the International Space Station. The University of Leicester has released an updated national map of the UK land cover, revealing a loss of habitats and agricultural land. The map examines the data from 2006 and 2012. It is based on a standardized classification system of 44 land cover and land use classes. It reveals that thousands of acres of the countryside have been swallowed up by development in the past few years. The map forms a central part of the European Land Monitoring Service under the Copernicus program. It was produced by visual interpretation of optical and near-infrared satellite images provided by the ESA with a spatial resolution of 20 meters supplemented with higher spatial resolution images with 5 meter pixels. Aerial mapping specialist Blue Sky has signed an agreement with the British Geological Survey. As part of this deal, a range of geological and geohazard map layers would be made available online at Blue Sky Map Shop. The new layers would include a nationwide map of groundwater flooding, ground stability data, geological indicators of flooding, and permeability data. The datasets would be particularly relevant to those making decisions about new developments, including analysis of flood prediction, prevention, and management. DGPS and marine environmental data acquisition companies Del Norte and OceanWise have collaborated to deliver a new online tidal level system to the Royal National Lifeboat Institution (RNLI) in the United Kingdom. The system would help RNLI crews to safely launch lifeboats in the face of a tidal range in excess of 12 meters. Special analyses are undertaken to detect rapid rates of change in the tides, and it is made sure that the latest information is immediately available to the crews. That's all we have for you today in GeoBytes. Find us on www.geobiz.com and follow GeoBuiz on Twitter.
Once again, Trimble is leading the way in positioning technology with the new Trimble R8S GNSS receiver. An entirely new way to look at receiver possibilities. Simply choose the configuration and features you require today. Then, add features as you need them tomorrow. It's the ultimate in scalability. With this innovative receiver, you tailor your system to your job, to the way you work. Choose the level of configuration that suits your needs. As your requirements change, the Trimble R8S can adapt. You simply add functionality whenever you want it. Each Trimble R8S comes standard with integrated Maxwell 6 chips, Trimble 360 tracking technology, and more. All to keep you productive and expand the reach of your GNSS system. Plus, it offers our exclusive web UI for remote monitoring and the new Trimble DL Android app for GNSS data logging. And the Trimble R8S maximizes productivity by easily integrating with the Trimble S-Series total stations and our innovative V10 imaging rover. For ultimate field efficiency, combine the Trimble R8S receiver with a Trimble controller and the intuitive Trimble Access Field software. Trust Trimble Business Center to help you edit, process, and adjust your data. It's the kind of solution you have come to expect from Trimble. We've been setting the standard in positioning technology for more than 30 years. See how we're raising the bar again with the Trimble R8S GNSS receiver.
Can you tell us a little bit about Geo and what it is that you do in the organization?
We have a lot of obviously formidable competitors in the mapping space.
But saying human geo, I was like perplexed. Why the name human to the geospatial angle?
If we think about land, I mean, land is a key core to prosperity.
Thank you, Hugo, for speaking with GeoBuiz and Geospatial World. Governor O'Malley for speaking with GeoBuiz and Geospatial World. I think I would want to believe you are one unique politician who understands the power of data and power of maps. And you have actually showed exceptional results during your tenure in Baltimore and Maryland as well. So I would want to ask you the first question. What really got your attention to this wonderful technology?
I suppose that when I saw what was happening in New York City and what they were doing with policing, when I saw the projection on the big screen of the maps and the spatial relationship really between the people that were committing crimes and the police officers that are supposed to solve and deploy to suppress crime, I looked at that and I immediately said, we should be doing this with everything. And that's what I was able to do as mayor of Baltimore and then as governor, was to take this approach of performance measurement, of using a common platform of the IMAP and running plays rather than just doing things the way they had always been done.
Okay. That is the city stat that you have witnessed in New York Police Department and tried to implement it.
Right. Well, actually, in New York, they called it CompStat, and they did it pretty much exclusively with their police department. Our little innovation in government was to take that enterprise-wide throughout all of city government, and we coined that term CityStat, and now it's been picked up and is used by cities all across the United States, big and small towns, and lots of counties as well.
Okay. So can you just explain for the benefit of my audience how this tool has actually helped in improving the governance in Baltimore and then in Maryland?
Sure. At the municipal level, many of the things that we do are actually very visible to the naked eye. So either the streets are cleaner or the streets are dirtier. Either there's a bunch of people 20 deep on a corner dealing drugs, or the corner is actually open for all of the good people of the neighborhood. Either the potholes get filled or the potholes don't get filled. So on the municipal level, we were able to take 311 that is one call for all city services. We were able to give people customer service numbers so they could track and see the completion of their particular service need. And then on the back end, we were able to pull people together every 2 weeks on a rotating basis with the dialogue and the executive method, if you will, that allows us to measure whether we're delivering the services in a better, more timely, more efficient, or more effective way this week than we were last week. And when you set up short-term goals, if you will, and benchmarks, people will work to achieve those shorter-term goals. And over the period of a year, when you look over your shoulder, you might only improve a little bit every week. But by the end of a year, that's a lot of improvement. So we took that same method to the state level. Not only did it allow us to operate more efficiently and effectively, to be able to cut our budget and balance our budget, but it also told us where we needed to invest and whether or not the investments we were making were bringing us the greater return. So we made our public schools the best public schools in America for 5 years in a row. We made college more affordable by freezing college tuition for 4 years in a row. We were able to reduce the pollution that flowed from our land into our streams and rivers that degraded the entire Chesapeake Bay, and so we were able to start restoring the health of the Chesapeake Bay. And these were all things that we did while at the same time working to improve public safety and working to save young people from falling victims of violent crime. And we also used it to turn around our whole program when it comes to safeguarding the lives of vulnerable young people. We called it Place Matters, and we changed the way that we went about responding to children in need of assistance. Instead of immediately trying to pull them out of the home and place them in a group home, instead we started figuring out how to heal what was wrong in the home. And all of that has led to greater progress, savings in money, and improved quality of life for our citizens.
That's pretty good to know how, in a variety of ways, the quality of life has improved and with the use of this technology. Has it also given a better return on the investments for the city and and Maryland as well?
Well, yes. We're still evolving and we're still growing. But for the first time ever, we started publishing online and with the geographic with the geographic coding so that everybody could see where the state dollars were going in their own county, in their own place, in their own neighborhood. So we started mapping all of our capital budget expenditures so that people could see where those dollars were going. We started measuring by different watersheds the efforts we were making on improving the health of our streams and our rivers. We started measuring, for example, with simple math, you can tell what dollars get you the greatest return on the dollar for reducing pollution. And that is what guided our efforts to upgrade our wastewater treatment plants, to plant more cover crops, and other things, because we knew what the value was, what the cost was, and what the return would be.
Okay, great. So you envisaged and actually implemented an informed governance, and which actually demands quite a radical way of thinking and implementation at every level of governance. How could you pull that off?
Yeah, I don't know if it's radical or if it's common sense. I think.
But it's very difficult to drive common sense into many people.
Yeah, what I found was that when you have a system that's open and transparent and visible that everyone in your government can see, they're also able to see who the leaders are among themselves, among their peers, among the managers. And I found that when you lift up the leaders, when you celebrate the leaders, when you're able to point to the scoreboard, or in this case the map, and show that one area is actually succeeding and achieving and excelling, the rest of the organization sees that as well and starts to lean towards the leaders, wants to be like the leaders. True. And so that's what I found was the most important tool of all. Sometimes people would report on our city stat meetings or our state stat meetings, and we'd have a reporter sit in and watch, and they'd often write about the case where the governor or the mayor or the top level city administrators were very hard on a line manager. And I suppose that was part of it, but what they missed was the praise that we gave to the ones that were actually achieving and excelling. And I think that's really more so than pointing out who's falling behind, was to point out who is succeeding. Because then afterwards, people want to be like the leaders. They ask the leaders, hey, can you help me figure out how I can improve whatever it might be, housing inspections in my district, or how I can knock out the backlog of cleaning complaints or boarding complaints or other such things. So I really do believe it's all about allowing people to see who the leaders are and to be able to see how they are succeeding.
That must have taken quite a bit of encouraging and getting the leaders.
Well, there is another variable. I mean, the executive absolutely has to be committed to this, not as a sort of cut the ribbon, do a press conference, let people see the nice maps on the wall. I mean, that lasts a day, and that really is not the way forward. The executive has to be committed. So I've seen many states and many cities attempt to do this, and the variable is always leadership commitment. If the leader's committed to making this central to his or her way of governing and driving progress, then they can accomplish great things. If, on the other hand, you're just doing it to set up a room and to cut a ribbon, then it will not be effective. You really have to make it about a new way of governing, which I once heard somebody describe in a book, that it's important to it's important to have goals that everyone understands. The main goals, not 500 goals, but a few core goals. And then to create a compelling scoreboard, to insist upon a cadence of accountability, short, regular meetings, and to, if you do those three things, then you will lift up, the leaders, and you'll be able to make a lot of progress.
That's good. Another important aspect I would want to touch upon today is there's a trend towards opening up the data, open data and open governance. I'm sure what you have initiated in Maryland and Baltimore is more a transparent way of governance and open governance. What is your ideas about opening up the data and making even more transparent governance?
Well, I think the goal is really to make the data not only available, but visible and understandable to all the citizens. That's the goal. That's why open data and the open data movement is so important. I used to encourage the people in my government to open as many data sets as you possibly can as quickly as you can. Because once they're open, it's harder to put the genie back in the bottle. Now, having said that, in every election there's a change. And it's very hard to institutionalize anything, especially new things. True. But over the longer arc of time, as people see their banking becoming more personally responsive, their retailers becoming more personally responsive, as the Internet of Things makes it possible for customers, consumers, and citizens to interact more intelligently with the other systems in their world and in their economy, governments are going to be under a pressure they cannot resist, I believe, for openness and transparency in their data. So in our state, we strive to be leaders in the open data movement. We believe that I always believed and preached and encouraged people in my government to believe that we have nothing to fear and everything to gain from all of the citizens knowing what we're doing. Unless anybody around here isn't working hard enough and isn't trying, then I don't fear the open data. And I think we're only beginning to scratch the surface of this sort of crowd-based healing, crowd-based actions, crowd-based analysis. So we would regularly, especially in my last couple of years in office, we would bring in stakeholder groups from, I guess you call it, civic society, outside of government, nonprofits and river keepers and those sorts of groups, parent-teacher groups. We would bring them in to literally walk them through the website and show them all of the data that's available and the tools that are available that allows them to aggregate and analyze the data and do their own mapping and analysis. I think it's a really important evolution in what it means to be an informed and active citizen.
Yeah, that's true. That's it. You talked about elections, and I can't resist myself asking this question because I read in one of the reports that you're just about to announce your candidature for next presidency. So what, according to you, are the 3 economic challenges of United States in the next 1 decade, and how do you see geospatial technology can actually complement or supplement those challenges or support those in achieving those goals?
Yeah, sure. Let me answer the last part of the question first. The more complex, the larger the field of endeavor, the more essentially important it is to have both a unifying map and also an executive method. There are some, I suppose, who, when they saw what we were doing with city stats, said, yeah, that's nice, but you can never do that at the state. We did it at the state, and it worked at the state across the whole range of issues, from security to the skills of our people, to the health of our people, to job creation, and sustainability, the land, the air, the water, the energy we use, and progress towards those goals. So I believe our federal government absolutely is in need of that unifying map and also that unifying executive method at the center of our federal efforts, so that we can become more effective, more collaborative, and more personally responsive to the needs of our citizens. Right now, our economy has made some important progress since the crash of the Bush recession. We have now created jobs consistently over the course of these last 5 years, every month, month over month, and that is the good news. The bad news is this: our economy remains in many respects upside down and backwards. It is upside down in that we continue, because of the policy levers put in place in regulatory, tax code, and other things, to concentrate wealth in ways that we seldom ever have seen in our nation. We have concentrated concentrated wealth now so in such few hands in our country that all of the rest of us are paying for it. Over the last 12 years, 70% of Americans have seen their wages go down or flatline. And that's not the way the economy or our country is supposed to work. It's not the way the American dream is supposed to work. And meanwhile, college becomes more and more unaffordable, more expensive. So there are several things we need to do. If you ask for 3, I would say that number 1, we need to restore wage considerations and wage policies back to our array of economic policy choices. There was a time when we always raised the minimum wage, Democrats and Republicans together, so that it stayed above the poverty line, because we understood that the more workers earn, the more money they will spend, the better customers they will be for business, the more our economy will grow, and the more there will be that consumer demand, which is always 80–90% of economic activity. The second very important thing that we need to do is to reinvest as a nation in that common platform of ours that only we can build up. So I'm talking about the physical infrastructure of our country, the highway system, a new generation transportation system, new ideas like the Hyperloop and other high-speed rail, as well as investments that we've gotten away from that we need to return to in terms of the intellectual capacity of our people, making it more affordable, easier for people to go to college rather than harder, and also investments in new industries and seeding new industries. I mean, green design, green technologies, all of these things can be done in conjunction with the national investments we must make again in affordable workforce housing in our cities, in rebuilding our cities as the centers of our metropolitan economies. And then the third thing, after the wages and the investments, is we have to restore a much more balanced regulatory process. Our economy is in just as grave a danger of being wrecked by the big banks on Wall Street and their reckless speculative behavior as we were 8 years ago. So we have yet to deliver on that promise. And as we do that, as a part of the consideration, an essential part of the consideration must be not only how we rein in reckless behavior on Wall Street, but how we better reward productive investment that actually creates jobs, understanding that an economy is not money, an economy is people.
That's true. Yeah. One aspect is the economy of the country. The second aspect is the sustainability of the environment and with respect to global dynamics, the climate change. Do you see the use of geospatial technology and how this can mitigate the larger challenges of climate change?
Oh, absolutely. The great challenge, the great moral challenge of our time is developing, accelerating new ways to live on this earth. The earth will continue to live. The question at this juncture in time is whether our species will continue to be part of that evolving story of the earth.
But the way human race is progressing, it gives me doubts about the sustainability of the planet as well, because we are destroying the ecosystem.
Right, for human life.
Yep.
It's easy to look at the science and draw straight lines between the dots, but if those straight lines lead us straight to hell, then you discourage people from doing anything about it.
True.
Any appeal that begins from a standpoint of despair is doomed to fail, so said Thomas Merton. What I have, in our experience, we used GIS not only to better understand how our actions on the land affect the waters of the Chesapeake Bay, but we also used it to map a green print of Maryland so we could see where our remaining forest cover, our stream buffers were, where they were not, where they needed to be replaced. I think that's all part of green design. We used it to we have the second highest number of LEED certified buildings of any state in the United States, second only behind the state of Illinois. So in our built environment, in our natural environment, and how we conceive of it and how we actually build and rebuild it, GIS is so critically important. And increasingly in the energy field, our only hope is to move very, very quickly to a distributed, renewable energy future. Once upon a time, it was thought that the most economic way to provide electricity for everyone was to have one central power plant, make it a monopoly, have it burn fossil fuels and distribute it to everybody who needs it, and you pay the bills back to the regulated utility. Increasingly, we're understanding that that we need to be much more dynamic. And I think we're moving towards a point in time where virtually every business and every home will generate much, much more of the energy that they use on their own footprint of this earth. And that's really the guiding light from not only energy, but also the water and the stormwater runoff and all of those things. We have to realize that every part of this earth has a certain biological budget, if you will. And we have to be mindful of how we use those resources and develop new ways so that we don't use them up and steal them from the generations that come after ours.
Thank you so much. Your insights are quite valuable and very much something that inspires and others to emulate. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All of the people I've seen here.
Good afternoon. I'm Sanjay Kumar, host of this afternoon panel discussion on a very interesting topic, value-centric geospatial market forcing geospatial alliances. Well, over last few years, geospatial industry and capability has been transforming very rapidly. It's making difference in our lives, and that difference in our lives is happening because of the value which this technology brings together in our personal, social, economic, and political arena. Today, geospatial value is being recognized at every level, and that value has come through a process of transformation of this industry. And that transformation has been causing or enabling several alignments, realignments across different stakeholders of this industry. To discuss about the topic value-centric market forging geospatial alliances, I have two panelists with me. On my right, I have Dr. Kumar Navlur, who is the Director of Next Generation Products at Digital Globe. Welcome, Dr. Kumar.
Thanks, Sanjay, for inviting us.
And on my left, we have Mladen Stojic, who is the President of Hexagon Geospatial, a very enthusiastic geospatial professional. And every time I meet him, he excites me with his thoughts. So,
thank you, Sanjay.
Welcome, Mladen.
Thank you.
So, with these two eminent personalities and professionals, I'm going to spend next 25 minutes talking about this topic. But before I go to those panelists, I just wanted to share some of my experiences in last 1 year. I've seen a greater willingness and a greater interest in the senior executives of the geospatial industry, talking to each other, understanding each other, exploring the opportunities to partner with each other. And that quest has been triggered by the integration of technologies, convergence of technologies, and picking up on each other's strength and making a solution which makes things work in our lives. And that's what we all are eager to serve to this community. I was in Hexagon Live conference last week, and that conference was a great conference where we saw several announcements in terms of the partnerships. We saw traditionally competing companies getting together and partnering to make some difference in this world. We saw technology companies partnering from those industry domain companies or acquiring those companies where they have traditionally not been so active, either in the field of agriculture or mining or water. And all these partnerships are driven with the objectives of understanding those industry domains better and bringing forward the true value of geospatial technology for improving the productivity and efficiency of those industries. And in this background, I would like to go ahead and start my discussion with Mladen. Mladen, what do you think about how this solutions, the term solution, which is a buzzword at the moment for the geospatial industry, is shaping or influencing the direction of the geospatial industry?
I think it's a good question. I think the concept of a solution, or at least the premise of a solution, means that there's a problem, and that problem requires an answer or some capability that would effectively address the issue or the challenges being faced by a given customer. A solution-driven strategy really requires the synthesis of several technologies, and I think historically, going back to the theme of the discussion, historically we've seen organizations try to aggregate and sort of pull together all the necessary components or Lego pieces associated with a solution. What we're starting to see in the industry is a synthesis of technologies ranging from hardware sensors through to content from a variety of different sources, through to software that cover the vast array of geospatial genres that we have in the industry today, and then applying those ingredients to a particular industry vertical, whether it's for defense and intelligence, government transportation, infrastructure, utilities, construction, and water, and so forth. So we're starting to see the fact that the emphasis is really on solving the problem, and the solution is that answer. But really, to put together a solution requires I'll focus on the synthesis of capabilities from multi-source data sources, whether it's satellite, airborne, UAV, terrestrial, ground-based sensors, through to the integration of software from a variety of different areas, through to the gluing or the putting those capabilities together to deliver that answer or that solution. And many times it requires, because every problem is unique, many times it requires customization, because you can't just throw a product at a solution. In the past you were able to, I think, 15, 20 years ago, but now solutions require more than products. They require the synthesis of products and technologies, content, software, along with the subject matter expertise required to solve that problem. And I think that's good, because it's breaking down a lot of competitive walls that we've seen among some of the traditional players in the industry. The focus is on answering and solving problems, and we're overcoming some of the challenges we've seen in the past through partnerships. Partnerships perhaps we would have never seen before that are now starting to forge.
Yeah. Oh, great! I think what you say is that the problem-solving approach is something which is very much driving the businesses of your companies.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking at pushing that kind of box to the users.
Yeah.
Let me turn to my right, Kumar. Satellite industry and Digital Globe per se have been having the impression for the last couple of years that you are a pixel company. You deal in creating a lot of pixels. How do you perceive this change when, as Mladen said, that the industry is moving towards being a problem-solving industry rather than a box pusher? So where do you see the satellite industry is heading towards in that reference?
So very similar to what Mladen has said, even the satellite industry is realizing that we are part of a solution for a problem we are trying to solve for a customer. And each of us, whether when you look at the geospatial technologies, we see some of the hexagon technologies complement, we use the word whole product or the solution we are trying to provide to the end user. So what Digital Globe has taken the approach of is there is this concept called a golden circle, which is outside in rather than inside out. Technology companies typically are inside out. I have this picture, what can you do with that? That was the traditional approach of the technology companies. Now we actually turn that around and asking the question at the center of that circle is, who is your customer? Once you know which customer you're talking about, the next circle is, what is the problem they're facing? Why do they want? What is the pain point you're trying to address? And then once you know the pain point, the next circle is, how are you going to address that problem? And then finally, the outer circle happens to be a what? It's the technologies that could be imagery, it could be cloud, it could be platform, it could be algorithms, bringing together to solve a customer problem. I think that's where I actually see not only Digital Globe, but also the geospatial industry going, is to provide complete solutions, getting into the workflows of the customers, providing them more content is how Digital Globe is looking at this marketplace.
Well, talking about the solution problems solving approach and workflows definitely are a very important component when you look at bringing several kinds of technologies to make some solution. Mladen, what do you think that the geospatial platform, which you are in charge of the geospatial platform at Hexagon Group, how does the improvements in the platform has been over the last few years, which does allow the integration of the workflows in the field of engineering or telecommunication and things like that? How does this platform enables workflows?
Okay, so I think one of the things that we've abstracted out, at least in our thinking regarding the development of a geospatial software platform, is this concept, as you mentioned, a workflow. A workflow is not necessarily a geospatial thing. A workflow correlates back to the solution, right? And a workflow should be able to connect to very, very performance and production ready geospatial capabilities, but a workflow is also required to integrate with other enterprise business systems, SAP, Oracle systems, Microsoft systems, and so forth. So our concept of it is a geospatial platform because it's geospatially aware, but it's really being architected to be a business platform that can easily connect to other business systems, because many of the enterprise solutions that we've built, referencing some of the industries you mentioned, utilities, infrastructure, and so forth, those are not geospatial companies, those are enterprise companies.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we can't, correlating back to something Kumar said, which I like, the concept of this golden circle, we can't approach them by saying, here's a geospatial solution. They're looking for an enterprise solution that happens to have a geospatial component inside of it. So a lot of the things we've done, not going into too much technical detail, but this concept, we have something called a workflow manager, which is not a geospatial thing, it's a workflow manager. It allows you to connect geospatial components, business system components, social media feeds, anything that may have to do with location into a workflow to solve an enterprise problem or an enterprise solution. So we've changed the way we think regarding these solutions, and not really just focusing on addressing it with a geospatial product or capability, but really an enterprise solution. So we've done a lot of things on our platform. I think having interoperability, speaking a common language, is also very important. So standards are important. IT standards are important. Of course, ORGC standards, metadata standards are important so that you can move data between systems. It's not just about a GIS, it's not just about a CAD, it's not just about a BIM system anymore, right? I think we've gone a long way moving beyond GIS, or moving beyond CAD, or moving beyond BIM. We still sometimes tend to go back into those silos, but the focus is really on enterprise solutions that happen to have a spatial component, and that's really been our focus, and doing things with our stack to facilitate that, like the workflow manager, being able to connect these islands of information or these islands of domain knowledge across an enterprise has really been a focus. SDKs are important, being able to easily extend and build capabilities, because it's not a product. A lot of our enterprise systems are heavy services. That's what Hexagon does with Hexagon Ventures, Intergraph SG&I, all of our 200 plus partners. They're not just building product, they're really taking what we deliver out of the box and extending that.
Well, as we speak, a great conference is going on in DC at the moment, which is known as GeoInt, and I think all of us were there at the show yesterday and some parts of it today. And what I heard, a kind of feeling at GeoInt this year is, I interviewed the Director General of NGA, and he talked about open geospatial enterprise. He talked about integrating socio-economic information with all the critical intelligence information to make it much more comprehensive intelligence information. Kumar, Digital Globe has been primarily a very focused company on the defense and security, and you provide a lot of solutions to them in terms of helping them to understand what's happening where. And with this new trend of, or rather new need of getting information from the social media or the financial institutions or telecommunication companies, all that information is also getting added to the whole NGA stuff.
Yes.
Where do you see Digital Globe is going to move forward in terms of adding value to those customers and connecting like the industry stakeholders in terms of geospatial platform and providing a much more dynamic and relevant content?
Okay. First, let me use the defense and intelligence language. The way intelligence people talk about is, at the end, they want to have what I call multi-int, multi-intelligence sources to solve a given problem. The trend is you want to have actionable intelligence so that they can do something with the information they're getting. And they also want predictive insight, so that if you can predict what's going to happen, then they can react to that. And that is in general applicable to both civilian side as well as the defense side. So when you talk about multi-int, image intelligence happens to be one of the sources. And then even within geointelligence, which is a superset of image intelligence, you talk about all the other sources. OSINT is open source int. And then there are SIGINT, which is signal intelligence. There are multiple intelligence sources that become this multi-source that can start answering a specific problem. So if you take that example, what we're trying to do is, again, going back to that golden circle, we have done projects where we ask the customer, what is it you're trying to solve? In this case, we were working with a nonprofit organization that wanted to address food security in Syria. As you know, there has been a civilian revolution. 2 million refugees have left the country. So the nonprofit organization I'm talking about wanted to know, is there enough food to feed the citizens within Syria? So what we were able to do was we were actually able to bring in remote sensing imagery for multiple dates. We extracted where the crops are being grown. At the end, the report we gave was a simple Excel spreadsheet to an economist saying that here is the food security from a food security perspective, how much crop acreage is being grown in 2011, 12, 13, and 14. Here is where we see this thing going because you don't have enough farmers cultivating the land in Syria. So I think where we are headed is, again, going back to customer-centric solutions where we define the personas of the customer we are trying to serve. And I love what Mladen said is, it's not about geospatial. You're trying to solve a problem, enterprise problem, and a geospatial happens to be a component of that particular solution.
Oh, wonderful. So, as I said that all these solution-centric or value-centric, the industry, which is the customers are demanding the players to change, the players to collaborate, So I would like to bring a bit of attention of Mladen on the recent announcements. The Hexagon did several announcements in terms of partners with ESRI, partnership with Autodesk, and these have been traditionally very hardcore competitor organizations with you. So would you like to share your opinion on in what areas are you collaborating with ESRI and Autodesk?
Okay. So I think I'll start with the ESRI or the Esri collaboration. It's multifold, starting with, and to be honest with you, the relationship is not new. I mean, various elements of the Hexagon organization have been partners with ESRI for decades. Starting with Leica Geosystems on the GIS handheld systems, okay, being able to work with ArcPad and the ArcGIS platform on that platform. Erdos, as you know, which is now part of Hexagon, was acquired through Leica and then subsequently through Hexagon, have always been in the past very strong partners on the raster image processing side. We've established several very production-focused extensions on top of the ESRI platform. And then most recently, it's been with the introduction of the Hexagon Imagery Program, which is a program to collect imagery raster content across North America, but also vast spans of Europe. That content is now available through a variety of channels, one of which being the ESRI, the Esri ArcGIS marketplace. So Esri customers can now go to that marketplace using ArcGIS Online, subscribe to that content, and then pull that content into their ArcGIS-based applications, which is very powerful because you now have very professional focused imagery at a very high resolution available to many, many users around the world, which in the past has been very difficult to get. So we're trying to get the powerful and very professional imagery to those customers. So that's been one area. One last area on the Esri front is in the area of public safety. So Intergraph SG&I, so security, government infrastructure, which of course is also part of Hexagon, with their emphasis on public safety, computer-aided dispatch, police, security, etc., announced a collaborative effort regarding the support of Esri-based maps in a CAD system, and not like Autodesk CAD, but computer-aided dispatch, public safety, those sorts of things. So now existing cities and counties that are largely an ESRI-based organization in terms of storing their data in a geodatabase can now produce maps from that geodatabase and feed those into the computer-aided dispatch system. So that's that's been very well received with our customers who now have the ability to directly tap into that geodatabase to pull map content. So that's been a very positive relationship. And then on the Autodesk side, most recently, in the areas of CAD and BIM and so forth, of course, Leica has many powerful sensor technologies, GPS, TPS, terrestrial laser scanning systems, and of course Autodesk with its powerful CAD system. We now have the ability to tighten up the connectivity between CAD and those instruments in terms of using that data inside of those packages. So overall, once again, getting data into GIS professionals, CAD professionals, and other industries is really a focus of ours. We don't want to limit ourselves to just one entry into the market, and hence the relationships.
Yeah, thanks, Mladen. Kumar, with some of these companies which we have just talked about, whether it is Intergraph or ESRI or Autodesk, Digital Globe has been either partnered with them or has been toying with the idea of partnering with those organizations. How do you foresee the more partnerships approach for Digital Globe in terms of enhancing their business footprint as well as the solution capabilities?
Great. So Digital Globe has this strategic initiative called Geospatial Big Data and Analytics. And the reason we call it a strategic initiative is that we realize that we need partners to make these solutions. So when we talk about this geospatial big data, our strength happens to be one part of the content, which is imagery. And then we also can derive some information layers automatically from our imagery. The way I look at that is there are three different types of services, if you may. You have platform as a service. In that case, we are looking at platform like Hexagon has. We are in discussions with Hexagon. How can we leverage their platform to serve our imagery? So platform as a service is one aspect of that. Second one is content as a service. So having the data easily accessible and easily manipulated by the end users, whether it is a regular user who has the finished answers or a developer who want to write their own algorithms, or putting our own technology out there so that people can manipulate our data, that I call content as a service. And the third aspect is what I call software as a service or a technology as a service. This is where I see a lot more collaboration with Hexagon. For example, you take Erdas Imagine. It's one of the more widely renowned software for image analysis. There is no reason for Digital Globe to reinvent the wheel. We would like to partner with Hexagon, bring the platform as a service so our customers are not investing money in IT, but they're actually focusing on solving their problems. Then bring the technology, in this case the advanced algorithms Erdas might have, and then put our imagery next to it and bring together a solution the end user can get access to quickly in a way it was not possible before.
Yeah, thank you, Kumar. So turning back to Mladen, within Hexagon Group we have Leica Geosystems, Hexagon Geospatial, and PPM and several other divisions as well, where Leica Geosystems is entering into strategic alliances with Autodesk or ESRI, who have been having some kind of element of competition with Hexagon Geospatial. And at the same time, Hexagon Geospatial as an independent software platform does have a lot of scope and opportunities for partnering with organizations like Trimble and Topcon, because they also have certain level of very niche markets where you can reach with in collaboration with them. So how do you see, do we see a possibility of such kind of relationships as well in future?
I mean, I think there's always room and possibility for relationships. I think you said something very important. We have such a broad scope of capabilities, from covering all the geospatial genres of photogrammetry, remote sensing, GIS, cartography, through to desktop-based implementations, server-based implementations, compression technologies. So, I mean, Hexagon doesn't rule out partnerships. We are a partner-focused business. The world's not black and white anymore. There's a lot of gray in the world. So it's hard to say, we compete in one area and then, we can't do business in other areas. And then you add the regional element to that. In some regions, we may compete, in other regions we don't compete, depending on the maturity of the market and so forth. So Hexagon really takes a very practical and pragmatic approach to doing business. and it's not emotional. Because we used to compete with an organization 5 or 10 or 1 year ago, doesn't mean that we won't have a partnership with that same organization in the future. We're a very practical organization. We're about solving problems with a business focus, and we never rule out options for partnership or collaboration.
So, in a nutshell, you are saying that you'll go with what your customer wants.
We're customer focused, yes. And if a customer has a problem we can solve through partnerships, we'll certainly look at those partnerships. And once again, that goes back, and I think it's a perfect example. Intergraph, SG&I, who would have said 10 years ago Intergraph and Esri would have been partners?
Absolutely.
Never, right?
Never.
But,
not even 2 years back.
But our public safety business, and largely in the United States, you know, when you look at these police agencies and these organizations, they're at the city county level, right? Esri's done a good job of penetrating into the city municipal GIS market in the United States. So a lot of investment's been made by these organizations. It comes down to business, right? They invested a lot of money building up these GIS data layers. Why should they then have to go through a lot of difficulty to get that same data into a computer-aided dispatch system to save lives? It's not practical. So if there's, and we recognize that, Intergraph recognized that, and for that reason, if they had an existing Esri-based GIS, it should be very straightforward to get that data into the computer-aided. It just makes sense. It's common sense. It's practical. That's how Hexagon thinks. We're a very practical and pragmatic organization.
Thank you very much, Mladen, and thank you very much to Kumar for joining us this afternoon in our studios to discuss about the value-centric market forcing geospatial alliances. Well, I think this is the trend, and as our co-panelists have explained and kind of conveyed, that the customer focus is at the top priority of these organizations. And that's the good news which we have in this industry, and which is also a sign of maturity, where we are looking at what is the end. How do we use this technology and this information for making a difference to our customers is the end, and that's what is driving all that changes. So I think it's a very positive news, and it's very positive indication in terms of the overall maturity of this industry. With this, I would like to close this panel and thank Dr. Kumar and Mladen to join us this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjay.